Chapter 14, The Autonomic Nervous System, a review by Olivia Ferris. I think the best way to start this would be to give you a chart comparing the autonomic nervous system and the somatic nervous system. The effector in the somatic nervous system is skeletal muscle, while the effector in the autonomic nervous system is cardiac and smooth muscle and glands. Basically, what this means is the somatic nervous system voluntarily moves your skeletal muscles, while the autonomic nervous system controls all the involuntary movements in your visceral muscles and glands. The number of motor neurons and efferent pathways for each system is different. Efferent pathway means that the signal is going out. In the somatic nervous system, there is only one motor neuron that goes from the central nervous system straight to the effector. There are two sets of motor neurons in the autonomic. There is one that is connected to the spinal cord that goes out and connects to another neuron that then goes to the effectors. In the somatic nervous system, everything is myelinated, but in the autonomic nervous system, the preganglionic axons are myelinated. Not very much, but there is some. But the postganglionic axons are not myelinated at all. In the somatic nervous system, the neurotransmitter is acetylcholine only. But in the autonomic system, there's two neurotransmitters. It's either acetylcholine or norepinephrine. The responsive effector in the somatic is excitation, and the autonomic can either excite or inhibit. You can see here this is more detailed on what I was trying to explain on the previous slide about how the autonomic has two sets of motor neurons. The preganglionic neurons, which if you look at the picture to the right here, is the first neuron. It resides in the brain or spinal cord. The postganglionic neuron, which is the second motor neuron after the first preganglionic axon ends in synapses, is located outside of the central nervous system. The postganglionic neuron can synapse with one or more preganglionic fibers. Preganglionics are myelinated, postganglionics are unmyelinated. The preganglionic synapses with the postganglionic synapses with the visceral effector. The autonomic nervous system has dual innervation, which means it has two divisions, parasympathetic and sympathetic. Most people remember the difference between the two by knowing parasympathetic as the resting and digesting system and the sympathetic as fight or flight system. The parasympathetic division relaxes the body and slows everything down, while the sympathetic does the exact opposite and speeds everything up. The parasympathetic division has craniosacral outflow. The preganglionic fibers come either from the brain or from your sacrum, although the sacrum only really innervates the reproductive organs. As I was talking about earlier in the previous slide, how the parasympathetic division slows everything down, well, here's how it all works. It tries to conserve energy. It will do things like slow down your heart rate or blood pressure or constrict your pupils. It's trying to keep your body energy as low as possible. The parasympathetic's preganglionic axons are very long. They reach out to the terminal ganglia, which lie very close to, if not on, the effector organ, thus making the postganglionic axons very short. The sympathetic division's outflow comes from thoracolumbar region, specifically from T1 to L2. The preganglionic fibers are short in the sympathetic. That's one of the more important things to remember when comparing the two divisions. Sympathetic neurons only travel a little bit from the spinal cord to their ganglion. Then they have a long postganglionic fiber that leads to the effector organ. Sympathetics can synapse with a lot of postganglionic neurons and go to many effectors. The neurotransmitters for preganglion fibers release acetylcholine, just like in the parasympathetic division, but the postganglionic fibers release norepinephrine. Fibers that react to norepinephrine are called adrenergic fibers, and fibers that react to acetylcholine are called cholinergic fibers. Adrenergic fibers have 5 different receptors. The alpha-1 receptors are on almost all of your sympathetic organs except for your heart. They are going to cause vasoconstriction and contraction and dilate your pupils. Alpha-2 receptors are in your blood platelets and assist with clotting. Beta-1 and beta-2 are the most important receptors. Beta-1 receptors are in the heart and coronary blood vessels. They dilate arteries and increase the heart rate and the strength of the contractions. This is the receptor that gets your heart pumping when you get an adrenaline rush. Beta-2 receptors are on your lungs and blood vessels of the heart. They dilate blood vessels and relax smooth muscles. Beta-2 also dilates the bronchi, allowing for better breathing. These 2 receptors are how the sympathetic division give you more power. Beta-3 is on adipose tissue. It just helps break down some fat. Cholinergic fibers have 2 receptors, nicotinic and muscarinic. Nicotinic simulates sympathetic effects and muscarinic enhances parasympathetic activity. The last part of the chapter I'm going to review is on the control of the autonomic functioning. The autonomic nervous system is not usually considered to be under voluntary control. Its activity is regulated by central nervous system controls in the spinal cord, brainstem, hypothalamus, and cerebral cortex. The brainstem and the spinal cord control your heart and respiratory rate. The hypothalamus controls most of the autonomic things, including emotions and drive. Cortical control is using biofeedback as a way of becoming aware of physiological conditions with the goal of being able to influence them consciously. An example would be being able to mentally concentrate to lower your blood pressure.